Hello, hi guys, it's Inam here with the iPhone 6 Plus. We're going to be taking a look at how easily you can replace the screen on this device if, like me, you've smashed it. Now this process is exactly the same as the iPhone 6 as well, and needless to say, this will void your warranty. As ever, links will be down in the description box below for the tools and of course a replacement screen. To get started, turn off your device and using a TS1 sized pentalobe screwdriver, undo the two screws either side of the lightning connector. Next, using a suction ring, place this towards the bottom of the handset and pull hard. You may have to do this a couple of times in order to create a small gap between the screen and the body of the handset, enough to start using a guitar pick and start prying open the screen from the body. Once the screen is unclipped and loosened, you want to hold the top of the screen where it is and lever the bottom upwards. Once you've got it about an inch or so away from the body of the handset, then pull it towards you. I wouldn't recommend you pull it too hard because there are ribbons just underneath the top edge of the screen, so be very careful you don't stress those. Now before we do anything else, we want to disconnect the battery just in case we short circuit something, and you can get to the battery connectors by undoing these two screws here. If the cover doesn't come away easily, just use your pry tool to lever this away and you'll find the battery connector just underneath here. Again, this is like Lego, so simply use your pry tool to slowly unclip this. You don't need to apply a lot of pressure, and there we have it. The battery is now disconnected. Safety first, to make sure the battery will not supply any power while we're working on the handset. Now going back to the screen, there's 4 ribbon cables from the screen which head on over into the motherboard, and then it's covered by this steel plate here. So what we need to do is undo these 5 Phillips head screws to remove the plate. Once the screws are out, the steel panel covering them should come away pretty easily. Next, grab your pry tool, and there's 4 ribbon cables with 4 clips that we need to undo. So you don't need to apply too much pressure, just be a little bit careful and they should just unclip off. Remember, if you apply too much pressure on these contacts you could bend them, so just be careful. And there we go, those are now off and we can lift the screen completely away. Now depending on what type of replacement screen that you've bought, you may have to transfer your old components to your new screen. Things like your home button, speaker, camera, earpiece at the top. So we're going to begin by removing these 3 screws and this plate here. Once the covering panel is away, use a guitar pick to slowly ease away the earpiece. It should just pop away, to be honest, and then ease away the ribbon cables. If they seem pretty stiff, just use a little bit of heat from a hairdryer or a heat gun just to ease those away. And as always, be careful you don't damage any of the contacts. And not forgetting the camera housing, which should be loose by now if you've used a heat gun, so you should be able to just pry this away. Switching round to the other end, and we now need to get the home button off. So remove the 2 Phillips head screws and then lift off the steel panel. Pry off the connector towards the left hand side. Again, be very careful not to damage the contact, so use a little bit of heat if you need to. Once this is off, you can simply push up the home button very slowly from underneath and peel it off from the top. With the components out the way, we can now remove this steel panel across the back of the screen, and there's 8 securing screws, so we'll go ahead and get these off now. Just before we lift the panel away, there's one final contact which is glued to it, which is just by the home button. So we need to apply a little bit of heat here so we don't damage it, and then using our guitar pick pry it away. And there you go, with all the components and the back panel removed, this is just leaving the damaged screen itself. Bringing in the new screen, looking all nice and shiny and perfect. We now need to get the components on this new piece. On the new screen, you can see the clear camera housing is already present, so I don't need to put that back on. We'll begin by putting the camera back first of all, and it looks a little bit daunting with all these ribbons flapping around, but just separate them so you know which one's which. And we're going to begin with the earpiece rubber grommet first, and there is a little bit of a notch, hopefully you can see, which we're going to align up. So once that's in place, just push it down and it should stick back to where it was. The second ribbon that we're going to be applying is the proximity sensor, and remember we need to fold this back then push it down. Make sure you do this properly, otherwise once the phone is back together, when you put the phone close to your face, the screen won't go to sleep. So once that's done, we now need to get the actual earpiece speaker and place it on top. Now there are 5 pins that need to be sticking up on this, so make sure you align the notches either side correctly, and then you can see the 5 contacts that we're going to be laying on top of them here. With the components held in place, we now need to fix them down permanently using the steel cover, and there's 3 screws holding that cover down. Swiveling the screen around, and we now need to get the steel back panel on. Remember, there's 8 securing screws that we removed, so we need to put these back in place now. Now don't forget the little contact that we had on the left hand side of the home button. This is on its own little ribbon cable, which you should just be able to push back into place. But I'm going to use my guitar pick just to make sure that ribbon cable is nicely folded. Now bring in the home button, place it within its location, and you should be able to see the ribbon cable coming off it has its own little notch along the left hand side. Make sure that's aligned up nicely. Now fold back the contacts and click it into the connector that we've just placed. Now bring in the steel covering plate to cover up the home button and replace the 2 securing screws. With the screen fully assembled, we can now connect it back to our handset. The ribbon cables along the top here need to be in a certain order. You don't want to apply the longest cable first because you'll be covering up some of the connectors that you need to get to later. Mine are in the wrong order, so I'm just going to peel them back slightly and rearrange them so we can get to the connector at the top first. Now once you've got it in place, simply push it down and you should hear a little bit of a click as it seats in correctly. Now the rest of the ribbon cables again seem to be in the wrong order, so I'm just going to peel those back slightly and put them in the correct order, get the next one up here. And again, you should get a nice significant click once you get it in, and that's in nicely here. We'll go for the third one along the right hand side, which is the longest ribbon cable here, and rearrange those slightly, and again get that click. And finally we'll go for the longest cable, which covers up all of them right at the bottom here. With the screen fully connected to the motherboard now, we're now going to test it to make sure it actually works before we seal up the device. I'm going to replace the battery connector and press the power button to switch the screen on, being very careful not to touch anything else within the handset. Once the device is on, very secure code here to unlock it after it's been rebooted. 1 2 3 4. Shh, don't tell anyone. And once it's on here, we're going to test out the touch sensitivity on the screen, make sure the buttons are working, the power button, screen unlock, the home button, the camera up top here, as you can see, is working, and the fingerprint sensitivity on the home button looks all good as well. So we're now going to turn the device back off. So now we're happy that the device is working as intended. We can replace the covering plate for the ribbons along the top here with the 5 securing screws, and the final panel that we need to replace is to cover the battery connector, which has 2 securing screws. To begin the process of securing the screen back into the housing of the handset, push the top edge of the screen into the housing and you should see some small notches where it goes into. Now once these are in here, go around one side, slowly clicking the screen back into place, and then go around the other side, again slowly clicking and pushing the screen down into place until you get to the bottom, and you should be able to just again work your way around and click it back into place. And the final set of screws either side of the lightning connector, so use your pentalobe screwdriver to secure these back into place. Closer around the top here, and as you can see there's no gaps whatsoever, it's just as crisp and close to the chassis as it was previously, and I am actually well pleased with that installation. And you can't even tell the difference. Look at that, how cool does that look? We've just completed a test call and everything works as it should do. The earpiece and proximity sensor work as they should. While the phone is close to your face, the screen goes to sleep. And I'll just show you what the phone screen did look like when it was smashed, and now it's back to its former glory with that replacement. I wouldn't say that was a hard installation, I'd say it's more fiddly than anything else with those tiny screws. But that's how easily you can change a screen on an iPhone 6 Plus. As ever, any comments or questions you guys have got, hit them up in the comments section down below there, or hit me up on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Inamica4, and give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw, and if you want to see more videos like this, then by all means hit that thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, hit subscribe. It's just down there, it doesn't cost you a single penny, and you can check out some of our forthcoming videos, as we've got plenty of content coming up. Thanks for watching, have a wicked day, and we'll see you next time.